What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Behind the Golf Brand podcast. I don't even know what episode we're on, so I'm not going to say that because I always forget. But today I have a good friend of mine. They pretty much make one of the coolest, if not probably one of the best head covers around. Dormie Workshop. It's freaking awesome. I started working with them about, a year and a half ago, and became friend with Todd. Todd is the co-founder, and he's a good dude. And welcome to the show.
Thanks, Paul.
All right. So this is how I always start my conversations with people generally. I always say, hey, like before I even meet anybody, right? If I'm going to work with them or not. And I always say, hey, what's your story? Now I know some of your story, but can you kind of tell us not so much we'll get the Dormie part of it, but like how you guys got into golf and how you guys got into head covers, go back way back when kind of thing.
I mean, it's a family business, and Dad, as the kind of patriarch of the family, he was the diehard golfer and still is. So he's 75, still working on a golf course, working with the grounds crew, and he's at the course at 5:30 in the morning. There's not a lot of 75-year-olds that are still grinding it out. So that shows how deep he loved the game, and so he got us into golf really early. As long as I can remember, I had a golf club in my hand, and with my two younger brothers, Jeff and Alex, it's the same type of thing. Everybody golfed. Our grandfather, there was often 3 generations on a tee box, and now Dad's a grandfather, and my son, he's the youngest guy. He's 3, and he's been to a couple of Orlando trips and has played in Florida more than probably some Canadians have. But yeah, I mean, golf has always been in our blood, and so it was pretty easy to just move into that space and turn that into something that, a passion of ours turned into a business. And when you can combine both those things of passion and business, you've got a really good combination. You're really lucky.
So when did you guys first start making head covers, I guess? Like, when did Dormie start?
2014. Yeah, it was a Ryder Cup year, and that also kind of aided into how we got our namesake. But basically, we were living down in Florida, and I had moved back home after being down there for about 10 years and started up a golf school. My middle brother, Jeff, he also was a PGA professional. And when he came back, what he had noticed, though, when he was down the last time he was in the States, was that leather head covers were starting to pop up. So that retro look and the nice feel. And he saw that. And when he tried to source some covers for himself, he noticed that it was kind of limited in scope in terms of what he was looking for. And that was kind of what set him on a trail of doing more research on leather head covers. And then he thought, well, maybe we can just do it ourselves. And, we had already started a ball marker business. And you'll see it was a ball marker that was kind of an alignment tool. So it had a line up the middle of it. And it was it was also made in Nova Scotia. It was a fused glass. So it was hardened. It was baked and cured, and they're really cool, but they just never caught fire. So we were kind of balancing between the golf school and the ball markers. And then Jeff brought in the idea of the leather head covers. And so then we had to we dropped the ball markers and moved into the head cover space.
So you guys are not doing the ball markers no more?
No. We have a bunch of them laying around though.
Because they're ball markers. Yeah, like you only need like one of those, and then you lose it, and then you buy.
These were pretty big. I mean, they were certainly like
coasters.
They were a good size. Like you'd have to carry a small one. We actually had a magnetic. So like part of the innovative part of like ball markers was because the size of ours, we had the magnetic one underneath. So if you needed to put a flatter, smaller one, so you're getting kind of 2 for 1. So it wasn't as bulky as what it appeared. We had some LPGA girls using them, and Philibert, she almost won a tournament, and you could see her using the ball marker, and it was pretty cool. I remember cool. It was fun. That was like 2013, I think. She was playing really well, Veronica. I don't know if you remember her, but she was a really cool person, and Jeff got to meet her because he caddied on the LPGA for a little bit, and so we got to meet some of the girls.
Dude, I didn't none of this about you guys. I thought, okay, so you guys who all was living in Florida then? You, Jeff, who else?
And Alex.
And you guys were
down there at one point.
Did you guys like go to PGA school or something, or what? Or you just went down there and you know how to play golf?
I moved down there in 2001. Basically, I was teaching skiing out in Banff for 6 years.
Oh my God, that'd be so much fun.
95 to 2001. But I got pretty beaten up, like the injuries from skiing. I did a lot of backcountry and just, it was like 145 days a year of skiing.
Yeah.
And so between my back, my knee, and my neck, I knew I was becoming a train wreck and thought, well, golf certainly had a lot more longevity. So I just I moved away from Banff, came back home, and then went straight down to Florida like January 2nd of 2001, I think it was.
So did you go to like, you already know how to play golf? I'm obviously you know how to play golf, but like, you did go to school down in Florida, or you just like, I'm going to just go down to Florida and start teaching?
I did take a PGM, professional golf management at Humber College in Toronto. And that was during the transitional period between skiing and golf.
Oh yeah.
And then I thought, well, I'll head down and play as an amateur. So I was still amateur status when I moved to Florida, and I played the first 3 years down there as an amateur. So that got me to like 2004-ish, 5, right around there.
Just like playing tournaments and stuff. Yeah.
And I was living and playing down there full time and coming back home in the summers. And then I would, then in 2005, I started playing mini tours.
Wow, I never knew that about you. See, this is what the show's about. I always learn things about people. So then what happened? So you were just doing that. And when did your brothers come down?
Then Jeff came down around 2005. And he started playing, he was just playing golf for fun.
Yeah.
But we were like living the beach culture too. Like we were living in Daytona Beach.
Oh man, so you are having a good time because you're playing golf and then you're hanging out.
Yeah, and surfing and surf is definitely has been a huge part of our lives.
Yeah.
And then I got a job on, so once I took a teaching course at one point and got a job on a cruise ship as a golf pro.
Really?
Yeah. And I did 3 contracts out there. And in the meantime, Jeff had moved to North Carolina and was there with his girlfriend. And he kind of got out of golf and was doing some other projects. And I said, man, do you want to come out? I could use an assistant. Like, this ship is so busy. I can get you on board and you can be my assistant. And he was like, man, that sounds awesome. So he came out and the 2 of us were running the golf program. And so we were doing like Cozumel, playing the course in Cozumel.
That's cool.
I don't know if you ever played. Yeah, it's amazing. And we did like the BVIs, Nassau, cruised all around there. Did a move to the West Coast.
And you're getting paid for it.
Yeah, it was great.
You're probably getting tips too. Like, oh, here you go. And you're like, thanks.
Well, you do lessons on board, and then you do the excursions off. And so we did the West Coast to Mazatlan, so it was West Coast Mexico. So it was Mazatlan, Cabo, and Puerto Vallarta.
That sounds like fun.
And that was like my last part of that juncture. And then we all moved to Australia and repeated.
What?
Yeah.
No, dude, I didn't know any of this. I was like, oh, these guys are from Canada. They make headcovers. No, I'm just kidding. But so then you moved to Australia. Okay, for what? Surfing or golf?
Surfing and golf.
Oh my God, dude, I want your life. All right, so.
Well, I mean, we weren't making a lot of money, but we were having a great time.
Yeah, you got stories, man. It's not like, then I got a job in a cubicle and, you know. No, it's okay. So you went down to Florida. Where in Australia did you guys go?
So we lived in Coolangatta, which is kind of famous for Snapper Rocks. For any surfers out there, Snapper Rocks is the first world stop on the tour for professional surfers. Not that we were professional surfers, but it would be. What is the first with the wraparound season? I don't even know what the first event actually is anymore with the PGA Tour.
I thought it was Kapalua, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess on the calendar date. So
nobody watches. Like, that's why I mean, I've been to Kapalua. It's gorgeous, but like, I mean, I honestly don't feel like the PGA season starts till the Phoenix Open. That's what I think, because then it's like, all right, now we're playing golf. Like, okay, it's Hawaii, great.
Yeah, I mean, I do enjoy that tournament just because I love that course. I've never played it, but it sure looks awesome.
Gorgeous. Oh my God, it's so pretty, dude. Oh my God,
the surf in the bay down there is fun to watch while they're playing.
My dad and I played like when was that? So we went, this actually, here's a cool story. So we went to Hawaii, I think it was like 2008. And like my whole family and my wife and I, and we went on December 7th, right? The reason I remember that, it's like Pearl Harbor Day. And so it was really cool is that we flew out of Honolulu, and we were like going to Maui because that's where the Kapalua is, right? My dad and I play Kapalua. And so I look down at the window and I see this ginormous ship, and I'm like, what the hell is that? It was a freaking submarine coming in. And it was like, it was so big. Like it was, you think submarines are teeny. No, man, they're freaking huge. I was like, holy crap. And it was like, they had tugboats, like water going over it and stuff. It was really cool. I just remember that. But that was my Hawaii story. But then at Kapalua, they were setting up for the tournament, but it was like 6 weeks before the tournament or 5 weeks before the tournament. They were trying to put the girders up and stuff. It was pretty crazy, but it was gorgeous. It was the most pristine course I've ever played in my entire life. I think like there wasn't like one bad blade of grass. But
how'd you do on the 18th?
Horrible. I lost so many balls the entire freaking course, dude. That course is tough. I don't know. Yeah. 18 was the worst probably for me, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. But anyway, so back to your story. So then you were in Australia, and what happened?
Yeah, in Australia, and my I guess traveler's visa was running out. You can only stay 3 months once you're over 30, and but the boys had a year-long visa, so they were working at the Glades, which is a Greg Norman course, and they stayed behind. I moved back to Moncton, New Brunswick, so that was my first professional job at a golf course in the PGA Atlantic Zone here in the Maritimes, and worked there for a year, and then I did 2 years at Georgian Bay in Ontario, and then moved back home in 2013, right around there, and that was when Dormie started to became front and center. So we still had enough time that we were working our golf school we started up a Dormie junior team. We had Race Auto and some other sponsors come on board, and it was a really good program. We had anywhere between 6 to 8 kids on our team, and it kind of ran parallel with the Nova Scotia provincial team. So any kid that didn't make the provincial team would usually come, and we would pick them up, or some of the kids that we were coaching were getting picked up by the NSGA. So there was lots of opportunity for kids to get some good coaching, and which is part of the passion for Dormie as we continue to grow our provincial partnerships, because we had to let the team go because Jeff and I were just totally overwhelmed with work.
Could imagine.
Yeah, and we thought, well, we could probably do more good with Dormie and trying to grow the game in other ways. And so we had to disband the team, and I only did, I think, one lesson this year with a friend. And so it's just been strictly Dormie full time for the last 4 years now.
So how'd you come with the name Dormie?
Yeah, so that was, as I was saying earlier, the Ryder Cup was on, and that was a term that was being used all the time on TV. And we thought it was a really cool term.
It is a cool term.
Yeah, it's like, Dormie is a situation that you want to be in because it's a no-lose situation. And it's, derived from the French word dormant, which is put somebody to sleep. And ironically, the USGA's banned that word from match play. It's the USGA.
Oh, yeah.
The guy just retired, so I'm hoping the USGA now has a chance to kind of get the ship back on the rails.
Not be tools.
Yeah. So anyway, not to get sidetracked on the USGA stuff, but it is funny that they, because now Dormie, and if you have, there's certain words that they've just deemed not, you just don't do it anymore. It's like a tie or a win, or because they said people couldn't understand the language or something like that. So it works even better for us because now it's even a more obscure word. So it's even more retro. So they did us a favor in the end.
That's I had no idea. That's cool. You guys came with oh my God.
Match play is so common in Europe versus, North America. North America is all stroke play. So match play is, it's probably the purest, funnest form to play because, you have one bad hole and your whole day's ruined, right? When you're playing stroke play, where match play, you can bounce back and win the next hole and boom, who cares? As long as you beat your opponent by one shot, you're happy. It doesn't matter what the score is.
Yeah, I mean oh my god, dude, that's fun. See, like this is what I like about doing this podcast is like I learned so much about people, and I learned like I didn't know any of that. I was like, I guess I should, but I mean, and then how'd you
If you
come up?
don't play match play, then you probably wouldn't pay much attention. And I mean, it's not
I'm
like
not
I'm sure you're
French. I'm
going on the
Italian.
USGA.
Just kidding.
You're not going to go on the USGA website to check out what they're banning next because they ban belly putters. Yet you can lock your putter to your arm. And
yeah, right. Or like, yeah, no comment.
They just it's just unenforceable rulings. Like the belly putter or chest putter, like guys have their t-shirt, their shirts are hanging off their chest and it's touching their hand, and then there's lots of accusations of guys that have it against their chest, and it's like, well, how are you going to enforce that rule? Like you can look at all the long wanders on the senior tour, and that's where a lot of the controversy stems from is whether that thing's actually getting anchored or not. And it's like, well, they created a rule that nobody can enforce other than the player.
Yeah.
So
it's like, what are you guys doing? I mean, it's typical, right? Yeah. So how'd you come up with the cow? Is that just because it's a head cover? And
the cow is just we wanted to make sure that there was no obscurity when it comes to whether we use quality premium leather versus synthetics or pleathers or ultra leathers, all those wordsmithing that people do to sell a product that it's crap. Is not premium. Yeah, so they're just selling.
I mean, if you can sell for less, okay, fine, but don't say it's like, oh, it's a hybrid. It's like, no, dude, it's either is or it isn't.
If I said to you, would you like leather or do you want some ultra leather? Which would you choose?
You don't even know. You're like, what's ultra leather? Is that a better version of leather?
It sounds better to me.
Yeah, and it's not. It's just cheaper stuff.
Yeah, like if you're getting ultra gasoline, pretty sure everywhere you go, you're going to pay more.
I should just do a bunch of ultra leather head covers and be like, these are ultra leather, and they're $500, and then see if people buy them, and then they're just like made of pleather.
Yeah, well, after 4 months, when the sun erodes them in the rain,
I know, right? The outdoors. I mean,
you won't have much of a business left.
No.
You can come out strong out of the gate, but I think you're going to crash and burn.
Yeah. I have like one sale. It's probably my mom and dad. Like, oh, thanks. You have a really cool product. So
your ultra parents.
My ultra parents. So how did you guys launch Dormie then? Was it just like word of mouth? Did you start, like, how'd you get out there in the mainstream?
Yeah. So we had a strong network of already established from all our caddying days.
Yeah. All your friends.
And all our friends were pros. And so word of mouth, emails, cold call, but really our launching point. So we started in September, and in November, we attended the first trade show that we had ever done. And it was the PG Atlantic zone.
Mm-hmm.
So our own zone has a merchandise show, obviously on a smaller scale than the Orlando one.
Yeah.
But it gave us the chance to at least try to explain to people, because I kind of liken it to the pilgrimage of Catholicism. Like these Bible thumpers back in the old days had to go run around to, weird places around the globe trying to spread the word, right?
Yeah.
And with leather head covers, it was the same thing. Like we were up against a wall. Like people didn't really understand why they would take free covers off their covers, because the OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, were just providing them for free. And it's like,
because they're ultra, man. That's why. Like I got an ultra Ping G410 head cover. You know how expensive that was to produce?
Yeah. You can't take it off. You can't put it on.
It shrinks. It rips.
It's ultra uncomfortable.
It's not that good looking.
No. So once people start to think a little bit outside of their comfort zone, which is spending money on an accessory that never really had a market to begin with, over time, well, at least at this particular trade show, we had a couple early adopters, and one was Chris Billings at Kingswood, and his assistant Haley. The two of them kind of understood it and liked the thought of it, and that was when Jeff and I were like, "Holy smokes, we actually have an order. We have to start producing."
Holy crap!
Yeah.
People actually want to buy it. Oh my god! Like you knew somebody would buy it. You're just like, oh wait a minute, now we got to figure out the back part.
Well, we hoped because we at this point at the show, all we had was a bunch of leather hides, a couple of prototypes that local tailors had made together, which mean, they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't even have really proper leather
They
sewing
didn't
machines.
know.
So
I mean, they didn't know. They're just trying the best they can.
no, we were just like, can you make something look like an oven mitt without a thumb? And we didn't really have a prototype or anything. So, we
What do they look
what
like?
samples we
Do you
did
still have the prototypes? You should put that on the website.
we do have a few.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
I kept them just for,
It's
it'll
cool.
be
I think
interesting
that
to
would be
look
cool
up.
to see. Like on the site, be like our evolution, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool.
The first ones didn't have liners. They were it literally was just leather straight up. And so from that, we knew like rubber had to hit the road, because now we've got to fulfill an order for a club. So that really got us, I guess, was kind of the impetus of like finding a local person that we could outsource this sewing to, because we still hadn't owned a sewing machine. Jeff and I, neither of us knew how to sew, and at this stage. So once we found one particular company locally that were able to, at least they had leather machines and they could manufacture some of the stuff that we wanted. So that was kind of our first go at it. And then as time moved forward, Jeff really learned more about sewing than I did. I kind of tackled sales and marketing.
Business,
yeah. And Jeff was more production, sourcing leathers and just figuring out the actual, like how to get it done. And that's kind of still the way it is today. Like Jeff is officially like the president of the company that we've got it set up.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like VP of sales and looking after marketing. And so there's a sales team now that we have, and a marketing guy that helps me with, Instagram and so, all the social media stuff.
You can't do everything by yourself. There's no way.
No. So we learned to delegate.
Right? Yeah. You got to start finding good people around you.
Yeah. And delegating as a small business is the toughest part, because you're used to doing everything yourself. And the only way that you can scale is to, like you say, you got to hire people that are hopefully better than you and can bring everybody's levels up. And that's, we've been really,
that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part. Everything else you can do, that's the hardest part, I think, like building.
Yeah. I mean, we've been really lucky because our staff is super talented. We have Nova Scotia College of Art and Design. It's one of the best design schools in Canada.
Yeah.
And that's about 8 minutes down the road from where our shop is. And we have 9 graduates working.
Oh, that's cool.
And so from design to actually operator artists. So they produce all the covers that you see are hand stitched and hand cut, laser cut, embroidered. There's a bunch of different mediums.
I never knew that. Yeah. Because I know so let's use for example, like the tiger head cover, right? El Tigre. Mm-hmm. Like, does somebody have to physically sew that together? Or is that sold? Yes. Is it like somebody at your facility?
Yes, and that part of the reason why there's like a sticker shock to, I would say, new customers or people who have seen us for the first time, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook advertising. A lot of the comments are just like, $150, you're crazy, and it's like, man, bro, you have covers that are $350. Like
you do. I know. I tried getting one from you, and you're like, no, dude, I can't give that to you.
So it's like, you have to understand the complexity of operating a business that is not based on overseas pricing and slave labor practices.
Oh, exactly.
And this is like our biggest challenge, is to educate people who just don't know any different. They're so used to the Amazons and the Walmarts of the world that just grind all their business, all their partners down in price. So it's like, drive the price down, and they will bully you into submission. And they'll give you this big opportunity on such a grand scale to sell your product. But at the end of it, who's really winning? Like, you have to,
they're like doing no work. They're doing no work, and you're doing all the work, and they're getting a majority of the sales.
Well, it's that, but it's also like the consumer has mentally and physically checked out of the process. Like sustainability or supporting local. You will never hear that from Amazon. You'll never hear that from Walmart. They may like put a little spattering out there just to kind of sound hip or prove that they have some type of, moral compass. But in the end, everything's getting made in China or wherever it is. And you're paying pennies on the dollar for their labor. And we're like, our staff have dental and healthcare,
wow,
insurance. So, we've we want to keep people around. We want to help train them.
It's
to
a
be better.
family. Yeah. It's like, you're not looking for, yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
Like,
we play the long game. Like this is not something where we're going to come up with a great design and then ship it offshore so that we can make 1,000 of them at $10 and then try to keep that $100
and sell them for
margin.
$30 and you make and then,
like it just doesn't work that way.
No, this is the right way. You're doing the right way.
That would do it. Yeah. Like there's companies that will do that, but we do not. And and we're in it, we just take small steps. We haven't done anything crazy in terms of, trying to outgrow our capabilities. And, certainly the challenge with 2020 right now is with COVID regulations and government restrictions. We've had to scale back, through like April, May, June, which was, summer prime production time. We were down to 5 people working out back because of the amount of people.
Oh, so they couldn't come in and actually do. Oh, yeah. Man.
So, we've got a backlog right now that we're trying to overcome, and we've hired new people. We've hired some people who were furloughed are back on. We've purchased more machinery. So we're in the middle of just battling to get back to level par in terms of our timelines and our delivery times. And I think people in North America understand that in our messaging. Like we 100%. Put it on our website. We just said, hey, delivery times are taking longer than normal. And that's doesn't matter whether you're making stuff in China or making stuff in Halifax. Everybody was affected by it. And
that's everybody. I mean, I know everybody's having problems getting supply right now. Even they're not getting, I know a lot of brands are not getting their shipments in. They should have gotten their shipments in 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. And it's I don't think people understand or they're not able to run their business because they do not have income coming in because they cannot sell product because the product's stuck in China or on a boat or whatever, Mm-hmm. I mean, I heard about it last week. There's a shortage of, oh crap. Well, how do they make golf balls out of? What's that chemical?
Where?
They can't make, oh man, I don't know the name.
Oh, urethane?
Yeah, urethane. There's a shortage of urethane right now in the US or in the world really. And it's gold right now. People are trying to get urethane so they can make balls and they can't find it. It's just because everything stopped producing for those months. So now
that's going to be, that's going to really turn up the ball hawking on local courses. Everybody's going to be in the woods digging for balls.
Well, I've heard I've heard that a lot of ball companies are 2 months out on getting balls. They're going back to, it's direct to consumer. They're going back to a Dick's or, a sporting goods store and be like, what do you guys have in stock? And give it back to us, just to get them out. It's crazy. I don't know. It's just crazy how things are going. See, I never knew about Dormie. This is actually really, this is awesome, honestly. So here's my story with Dormie. I met Todd a year ago. We reached out on Instagram. So I'm like, oh, they make some of the coolest head covers. And so I reached out I didn't know who Todd was. I had no idea who Todd was, right? I just knew it was Todd. I thought Todd was in sales, right? So we reached out. This is when we were first talking to brands. So we talked to Todd. I'm like, Todd's really cool. And Todd's probably like, who's this crazy guy? And so they sent head covers to myself and Damon. And I was just like, you can see my head cover back there. And I was, the quality is unsurpassed. I knew that they were made in Canada and I didn't know that they were made at Todd's place. I thought maybe a factory made it somewhere in Canada, which I think is really cool to find that out. And so we became friends and then I actually met Todd finally for the first time at the PGA show. I was super excited because I'm like, oh my God, it's Todd. I looked at the name tag, I'm like, oh my God, it's Todd. And so, but Todd's stand up, I mean, seriously, you can tell you guys, he's so, Dormie's super cool, but Todd's a really good dude. I remember I saw you and I walked by and I waved and you were talking to, what's his name? Oh crap, I'm gonna look up his name real quick. You were talking to, oh man.
Is he a player?
No, it was, you're talking to Birds of Condor. You're talking to Frankie. And Frankie. And I had talked to Frankie too. I mean, Birds of Condor is cool as hell, you guys too, right? And Frankie, if you guys know, they're so nice, him and Zoe. Yeah. And so their daughter's really cute. And so I think I gave her some stickers. Remember, she was selling, that was funny. So but Todd was I remember Frankie was like, hey, is this guy legit? Because I just talked to Frankie like the day before, and you're like, yeah, no, Paul really is legit. And I was like, and to me, that meant a lot to me because I really appreciated that because like you were verifying that to somebody else that I had just met, right? So that was really cool of you. So thank you. You probably don't even know you did that, but I do.
Well, you seem pretty passionate about what you're doing, so
yeah. I mean, but you could have been
thing.
like, oh yeah, he's all right, or something. But it was cool because you're like, I think he wanted to make sure that I wasn't like, there's a lot of BS people out there that are not going to do what they say. You know that. You probably get people hitting you up all the time for free stuff, or like, oh yeah, we'll share it. But no, that was cool of you. So thank you. I know I was talking to Frankie like a couple weeks ago. They're trying to get us some stuff to review because I think Frankie makes some cool stuff, like really cool stuff.
Yeah. No, they're great people and certainly kind of on the line that they stick to really fun, kind of zany, hip, surf culture inspired golf stuff, which is
from Australia, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And their art,
I love it.
Yeah, that's what I think is so cool. I think you're seeing a renaissance right now in the golf industry in the last couple years, last 2 years, 3 years. I think you guys are probably one of the first brands that actually started it, where you're seeing a resurgence of like cool products and designs. And it's not like the same old, I call it the big five brands, products. It's more like customized or not, that's not the right word, but more like the quality's there, the passion behind the game, the story behind the game, the reason why we play the game, and I think, honestly, I think you guys started that because, your head covers are cool. And yeah, people have to pay a little more for it. So what? If you don't want to, seriously, it's super high quality, number one. Number two, it's being made in Canada. It's made from leather, right? So it's not, you get it from China and it's not made of ultra leather. And, I just learned that today from you. Like, look, like this is to us, this is people's livelihoods, right? We actually take care of them and we're doing it the right way, which I think is even cooler because I just never knew that. So that's really cool.
Like the way we look at it, the future generations are the ones that we really want to appeal to. And the cool factor is critical. And we partnered with Nova Scotia Golf Association, New Brunswick Golf Association, and Ontario. So those are kind of our three key amateur associations for 2020. And we are also official head covers for PGA Canada and PGA Atlantic. So between those, now we're going to be moving laterally across Canada in those amateur associations. That's our goal for 2021. So we've got 2 targets there. And there's also a new PGA section that we're working on a deal with right now for the US. That'll be our first US section that we become a sponsor of. So for us to be able to, a lot of it is like championship covers. That's a lot of the deals that we've done.
Yeah.
So people are playing for, the overall championship trophy. And then now they're getting this leather head cover that is something that they can actually game. And these covers are recognized around courses. And, those things.
That's cool. I never thought about that. That's cool. It's almost like wearing your trophy,
yeah, well, that's what you're doing.
That's brilliant. I never even thought about that. Like, you work with those, organizations and it's like, oh, that's smart. That's really smart. Because people are like, oh, what is that? Oh, Dormie make. It's almost like people understand that like they find you that way. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's really cool head cover.
Yeah.
But it's like
a lot of people, like, especially in the US, I still think that there's probably 90% of golf courses that have not heard of us, or if they do, they think of us as the custom company that does, really high-end, expensive work. But we're actually based at like our whole. We have a wholesale business that just does pro shop cover. So we'll do 18 units. Our minimum is 18 units. And we can combine that with like driver fairway hybrids. So you do 6, 6, and 6. And the shops are slowly coming to us and saying, yeah, this is a part of the market that nobody has, that it was overlooked for years, or it was non-existent. And now it's like, you can see it on tour, like that latest collaboration we did with TaylorMade at the US Open. Every TaylorMade player had fairway covers from us that we did. It was Statue of Liberty and the TaylorMade bug logo on the top right.
Really? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So you'd see it on DJ used them. Rory had both fairway covers in his bag. And
oh man, dude, that's awesome.
It was great. And those are the type of things that those weren't they were for a giveaway with TaylorMade and us, and then they're tour pros, and then a few staffers on TaylorMade, but they're not available for public. But it creates kind of an excitement level, and now those are a commodity that people, if they win those things, they can get autographs on those. That's a serious item that you'd be really stoked to have.
Yeah, right. Let's say Rory wins something and he had that. So
yeah.
So let me ask this question then. So then pretty much like you worked with the PGA and TaylorMade with that, right? You're saying?
Just TaylorMade. It had nothing to do with PGA.
Okay, so you worked with TaylorMade, and since TaylorMade already sponsors those guys, then they're just like, hey, put this on the clubs, right? Like you have to go to them.
Happened. Huh? Like they basically Jeff is basically a TaylorMade player, and I'm with Cobra.
Yeah.
And so Jeff's connections
oh my gosh, so
had reached out and said, hey, we've got this really cool US Open bag, and we've got 2 putter covers for the Spider and the Blade. Can you guys on short notice pair up and make something cool that we can make with those bags? And it came together in less than I think it was about 5 weeks by the time from that original email to getting it shipped directly to Wingfoot to to the locker rooms.
Oh my God, dude! And then it's like the amount of publicity from that, right? Like just
it was awesome.
That's so cool. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing though. It's like that wouldn't just happen, right? The reason why it happens is because one, you make a super quality product, right? And it's cool looking and it's not cheap crap. If it was cheap, they would have never done that in a million years, right? Never, right? So it's almost like, it's like you've made head covers cool. I don't know. That's not a better way of saying it. It's like you made head covers an accessory that can be more customized, more high end, just like the bag, right? Because like, what do people see? People see your bag and they might be able to see your clubs in there, but most of the time they can't really tell what you're carrying unless you're a golf head or, but like, if you're that's cool. I don't know. That's what I like about what you guys like do. Like, I mean, I don't know. Let's look, hold on. I did this once before. Hopefully this doesn't backfire. I started doing this a couple weeks ago. I share your website. Let me see if I can find it. I like showing people stuff so that on the YouTube, they can say, oh, that's cool. That's what they're doing. Or usually, people don't know, kind of what, I can describe it, but they don't really understand it, So.
I mean, our Instagram basically is our number one source for keeping up to date with what's going on. Facebook is okay, but we don't really put as much energy into it. Because with Instagram, we post about every 3 days, and then our stories are updated daily.
So that's what I'm finding too. Like, you can't overpost. No one really reads posts anymore. Like, even unless it's like a video or something. It's like those stories. Like, if people really care about your brand, they're gonna look at the story.
The stories are really where the back. It's kind of like you can see behind the scenes of like whether it's how a cover comes to fruition, or maybe it's a tournament that we've traveled to, or we're at a new trade show. All that kind of thing happens and is exposed on Instagram. That's our main source and resource.
Yeah, I mean, your Instagram is pretty sick. So I mean, this is my example. Like, I think you guys have always. How many followers you guys have now? Like a lot.
We're approaching 40,000, so we should hit that in a few months if everything goes well. That's our goal. Probably by 2021, we'll have hit that 40,000 mark, which is great. And our newsletter, as we build our team, our newsletter now is going to be coming out about every 2 weeks instead of every 4 weeks, and there'll be items that we'll showcase, or like I say, behind the scenes stuff, or just kind of I guess our take on golf in general. Or maybe an experience that we've had at a tournament, just because our family still plays. So like the last event we played, Dad was in the senior division. Alex won the amateur division that he was in. And Jeff and I were still competing as pros. So there's a nice little Atlantic circuit here in Eastern Canada that we can play. And so we're still trying to play as much as we can. We're not of that. You enter the golf business to not play golf. Like, we enter the golf business so we can play more golf.
Is this a black and white photo of you in like 20 years? Or
I'm not.
With the beard.
Which photo are you looking at?
Oh, you see my screen? Here, open up your thing. You can see. Open up your Zoom. You can see your website.
Here we go. Oh, that's old Tom Morris.
I know, but I'm saying that that looks like you kind of in like 50 years.
Yeah, give me another maybe 10 years.
10 years, I'll get you a derby hat or something. Not a derby hat, but those. Yeah, so you guys on YouTube, like, so check this out. Like, this is Dormie's website. If you've ever been to it, they make some, like I said before, it's so cool. So,
our next release is the blackout collection too. So
is it?
Everything's blacked out. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And you flip it, like to flip out the color.
Yeah, well, stuff. It won't be. Some of these covers will be flipped, and then we have some new designs as well.
That's cool because you had this cover in green, right? If I remember right. Yeah, I remember that one. The one I have is behind me, but I mean, you can see like these are the ones, the U.S. Open ones you're talking about, right? For
those ones we did for that was Paul Casey's set.
Oh, was it? Oh, it's cool.
He's one of the players that uses our gear. So he got his own custom covers for the U.S. Open. Yeah.
I mean, look how cool these guys are.
But those are for sale.
Is this the course? Where's this by? I've always wondered this picture.
That's my van.
You still drive it?
Yeah. Yeah, we souped it up. No, like I had that when I was down in Florida. And then so I've had it for about 12 years now. And we put that wrap on it. It's like a flat gunmetal wrap.
Dude, looks so cool.
Souped it all up. Yeah.
Is that what course is that? The one your dad works at?
That's just at Cabot at their driving range. It was, you see, it's like a construction site there. There's a lot of dirt and stuff. Like that's at the Cliffs course. So they were just in the middle of building their hotel and new clubhouse and stuff like that.
Who's that driving? It's not you.
That's Matt.
Oh,
he's one of our custom sales guys. He's a self-proclaimed king of cool customs.
Self-proclaimed. But I mean, look at this, you guys. Check this out. This is cool. Like, check out their head covers. Like, you worked with the NHL? That's crazy.
Yeah, we have the NHL license.
Oh, do you?
So we just got that.
I got to introduce you. I have a friend of mine who's a NHL player. I think you'd love to talk to you, but like he is like he won the Stanley Cup twice, and he played. He's from Oshawa. I don't know where he's from in Canada, but I know he played the Oshawa Generals for a while. But he owns a golf company too. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh man.
Who's that?
I'll tell you off air. But it'd be cool. I think he'd like to talk to you. He's a really cool guy. But yeah, he won like 2 Stanley Cups. So that's pretty neat.
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah, right. I'm like, and we're joking around. I'm like, I'll take your traffic and I'll give you, if I can have your traffic, I'll give you one of my Stanley Cup rings. I was like, sold. But it's crazy because he played like in the 90s. So in the 2000s. So like the guys, like he's telling me, here's I don't know if you guys, sorry, here's a boring story, but I think this is cool. Like he's telling me like all the guys he thought were the hardest ones to play against, like next level hockey players. And he said like by far, like Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr were like the hardest guys to play against like ever. I was like, that's so cool. But like he played with like Nicholas Lindstrom and all those guys. But yeah, I mean, look at some of the originals, right? Like this, they didn't really have, you guys didn't have this last time when I was on your site, but you can tell like, look, they really take the head cover seriously and this is quality. And you get what you pay for. So you can see like Nintendo cover. I think that's cool as hell. There's a lot of time invested. The LT gray is really cool. Yeah, it's expensive, but I mean, think of my piece of leather that is, how much time it takes to sew that. So, you get what you pay for.
Like one thing you got to factor in is like those little strips of leather come from a larger piece of hide. So there's also, when you look at a piece of like a head cover, there's a lot of wastage that happens.
Yeah.
So you actually have to.
That's a lot of material.
The amount of leather that you're using, but also the stuff that you're wasting. And so we try to use scraps as best we can for like lines or numbers, or if you get a big enough piece, you can make a wallet out of it. But some of the stuff is so time consuming, like that Liberty one that you're looking at there.
Yeah.
On the backside, I think it's got 13 stars. And,
oh my God.
Those are laser cut stars, hand stitched.
I mean, this is not like you bust out in a day, right? Like this is a lot of work, and it's handcrafted. And
we don't sell many of them neither, right? Like we're not gonna.
Okay.
All our stuff is made to order generally, so it's not like you're walking into Dick's Sporting Goods and there's 15 of these sitting there ready to go.
Like seriously, I love your guys' stuff. Even like just like this Hershey one is cool. Like I don't know, like you guys are just talented as hell, man. Like seriously,
thanks, man.
Like I've always been a fan, and then I don't know, you're just creative as hell. Like you definitely, I feel like you get more than what you're paying for with you guys, because I feel like you get a product that's almost custom in a way, even though it's not just.
Well, we do custom one-offs. Like if you want we call it like concierge service. Basically, you'd be working with Matt, and you'd have one of our designers from scratch build you a cover.
Here's mine.
So that's one of the options. That obviously the cost goes up, but you're going to get exactly what you want.
I mean, how cool is this, right? You guys, like, this is my head cover, and this is one he sent me last year. But I mean, it's just so creative, right? Like, what is this of? It's just like an old bomber, like a World War II bomber fighter plane or something.
Yeah, that's like nose art, they call it. So a lot of those old World War II planes it's almost like graffiti. Like they would put what those guys kind of liked, and a lot of them were pinup girls, but they'd have all these cool characters like the shark mouth or whatever it is. And so we love that stuff. And
I love that stuff, dude. I used to be a pilot. Did you know that? Before I did this, I was a pilot. I had
nice.
Thousands and thousands of hours. Like, I love this kind of stuff. So was this a real, did you just make this up?
This particular design, we used to run a head cover contest called Cover versus Cover. So it was based on the same principle that Driver versus Driver was. Remember Wilson had that TV show?
That was a cool show. I like that show.
Yeah. So we did the exact same thing except for head covers. And this was one of the 5 finalists. A kid from LA came up with that design. And
freaking so cool, dude. It looks so cool.
Yeah.
But so is this like do you think this is a real like World War II art thing, or he just drew it himself because he's a good artist? You don't know?
That's a good question.
That's cool.
I actually don't know the actual particular detail about that little wasp.
Like, this stinger is cool. Like, it looks awesome. I mean, all this looks so cool. When did you guys start moving into putters?
We've always done that. Like, so our product line now includes alignment stick covers. We make alignment stick covers for Bob Bokey. Yeah.
You make alignment stick covers?
Yep.
Oh shoot. Okay. I definitely got to talk to you about that guy.
Yeah. So there's like, our line is constantly growing. So from wallets to weekender bags, shag bags, it's a really pretty extensive line now. So we're more considered, we would call ourselves a leather accessory business opposed to leather head covers. Cool. So we're kind of diversifying. Yeah.
I mean, it's good though. You didn't do it right away though, right? It wasn't like, oh yeah, we do everything. It's like you're growing into it as you. Well,
it takes a long time to get a product to be able to bring to market, because we'll think we'll have something nailed, and then it's either it fails under our stress tests, or we're just not happy with how it functions. So to prototype something and get it to that final point where we're like, yeah, we can put a stamp on this. It's a pretty long process.
I could imagine.
Yeah.
What's Tiger in the Woods? Is that a shirt?
That's a sweater that we did. We did a collaboration with Foray. Ever heard of Foray?
Cool.
It's a ladies brand.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. So that particular print is from our wall. It's a graffiti wall. So one of our staff, Elliot, he's a professional graffiti artist.
Oh, that's cool.
Side job, and we had him do up the interior of our workshop off the wall. We just extracted that little tiger in the woods.
That's funny.
And made a sweater out of it.
You guys have, I don't know. I just feel like you guys have cool stuff. That's it. I mean, people need to buy Dormie. I mean, if you're going to buy a head cover, why buy something cheap, right? Like, you might as well buy something nice that's cool. Like,
yeah, buy nice or buy twice.
Yeah, right. Oh, Blues. I love the Blues. Like my favorite hockey team. Oh, that's really cool. What are all these? Oh, these are new releases. So I didn't even notice that. That ship one's really cool. Wow. I mean, think how much work goes into these. It's crazy, man. Like, I didn't know all these had to be like handmade, right? So it's not like they just print it, and there you go. I mean, it's just.
Yeah. No, I mean, you have to create, that there's a variety of steps from coming up with it, and your digital mock-up. Then you have to turn that file into, a lot of them are leather applique. So like that ship, for example.
Yeah.
You would take that ship and turn that into a laser file, so that the laser machine that we have basically it's similar to like a photocopying process, where the laser will burn out the exterior of that ship.
The pattern.
And then we would, the pattern. Yeah. Then we would take that to the production line where they have to glue it, the cover. When it goes to the stitching component, the artists that are going to do the stitching, it's really meticulous work. Like, a lot of times, if you ever saw a sewing machine, you think that somebody just hits the gas and things just flowing like crazy. But in those ones where you have to do a lot of detailed work around edging, you're doing it you're actually rotating the the wheels with your hand. You don't even use the high pressure like engine because they're runoff. It's an air compressed sewing machine.
Wow.
To drive those needles through the leather. So
it's so thick and stuff.
It's so thick and it's so detailed that you have to do it by hand. So you're moving the wheel like each
look
stitch.
at the stitching. You can even see like even the stitching is like perfect, right? Like this is not an easy stitch to do around a, I don't know.
Until you get on a sewing machine, you don't know how hard it is.
I could imagine how hard that would be.
Yeah.
Especially it's more like even like the Tigre one, right? Like that's a lot of stitching and that's a lot of
that thing's loaded.
And it's teeny pieces of leather. So it's like it's very easy to screw it up. And
your margin for error is so low on a lot of these covers. We do blow through a fair amount of stuff just on mistakes. But we have learned how to fix some of them. So we don't, let's say the Altigre, you're 3/4 of the way through and something goes wrong. We can come up with ways to cover a hole or whatever it is and make sure that you're not getting something that's banged up, but we also don't want to lose 2 hours worth of labor either. So there's lots of tricks that we learned along the way. So everything's guaranteed and like one of the strengths of our company is to be able to keep in contact with our customers, whether it's through DMs and Instagram,
you stand behind your product,
our phones,
you're like
everything. Everything's backed and we have a really strong following and
loyal.
With social media, if somebody says anything about pricing, there's about 15 guys that'll jump on the person just trying to explain to them why something made by hand in leather
in Canada. Yeah, in another country, what
it does.
Like it's easy to think about. Like, shut up until you know what you're talking about. Like, don't be a shit talker for no reason.
Yeah, it's just the social media warriors and
behind their keyboard. I know. Yeah,
they just bang away, and it's like I don't even know why they take the time out of the day to complain about price.
It's because they're miserable.
It just doesn't make any sense.
I mean,
like I'm not going to go to a Porsche dealership, their website, and then make a comment saying this.
Why are these so expensive?
Get what you pay for.
So you guys knew nothing about you didn't know much about sewing, right? You weren't sewers and you didn't know much about head covers. You just learned and figured it out and made it and refined it and refined it and refined it until you knew about golf and the industry and everything like that, but you just did it the right way and you just learned the whole trade and the whole process. And then you also hired good people that are good artists as well to share in that design.
Mm-hmm.
That's brilliant. That's
and just one step at a time. Like our next big thing for 2021, we just purchased a building in Halifax, right in the kind of the CBD, just outside the CBD district, and it's kind of a regentrification area. So there was a lot of auto body shops, and it's actually one of the older. It was a 4-bay garage, and we're going to convert it into our new workshop. So it'll be owner operated, and we'll have everything under one roof, total control of, for quality, and just be able to really take it to the next level.
So do you guys so you ship it all out too? You do the whole process right now in-house, right? It's not like
in-house.
Yeah. But then, so when's that building going to be ready next year sometime?
We're looking at the closing date is going to be December 1st. And then hoping that the engineers and the architects and electrical
during winter they can work on all that crap. So right,
they can get it going. We should be in there. We're hoping for February if everything goes well. February, March.
Do you think there's gonna be a PGA show this year?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No.
I don't know.
We can't even go across the border, so it doesn't really matter.
Really, you can't. Canadians can't. Oh, because you go to quarantine, right? If you leave Canada, you got to be in quarantine for 2 weeks or something crazy. Yeah, somebody was telling me that. I didn't understand.
Well, I didn't know. Plus, the border is just closed in general. You can't drive across the border. I think you can fly still. So, there's certain rules of you need. It's essential workers, something like that. And anyway,
dude, you're essential. Closed. You're essential.
Yeah, not in the eyes of probably most customs agents.
Well, I don't know. This is what I have to say. I like Dormie. I have since I saw you guys on Instagram 3 years ago. And then, I appreciate you working with us, and letting us review last year the Dormie head covers. I think they're awesome. Dormie, you guys make phenomenal head covers. I don't think anybody can touch you, really, honestly. I don't know anybody that's be like, oh, it's an equivalent. There's no equivalent. If you want not even a high end, high quality head cover that will last a long time, and it's made by not laborers in some foreign country, and the people behind it stand behind the product. You buy a Dormie head cover. I mean, that's what you buy. And if you want to buy some cheap shit, go on Amazon and buy a $14 head cover. It's going to fall apart in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And then you'll end up calling us.
And then you listen to this podcast and be like, oh, freaking Paul and Todd were right. I should buy a Dormie head cover. I mean, you can see
buy it twice.
Yeah. I mean, you can see like they actually have a ton of cool head covers. I mean, that's 5 years in the making too, you know? So it wasn't like they just came up. Like, I don't know. I just think it's cool. I think there's a lot of things you guys could do too, since it's almost like you're a leather company at this point, right? Like you're leather golf products, but you can probably do all kinds of stuff, you know, Yeah,
we're going to be doing some apparel coming up in a very short, distant future here. We've got some new sweaters and t-shirts and hats and toques and all kinds of stuff. So even if you don't need another head cover, you can still.
I always need another head cover. I mean, I think head covers, I don't know, it's a good accent piece to a good bag, right? But I mean, or it could just be, if you have a crappy bag, it could just be you could be your cool piece and not having to spend $200. But that's awesome. Well, thank you for being on the show. Love working with you guys. And I appreciate, you know, what you've done for us and the relationship we have with you. And thanks for, when I texted you and was like, hey, you want to be on my podcast? You're like, yeah, sure, it'll be fun. I'm like, oh, yes. So thanks for coming on my podcast. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, cool, man.
Best of luck, and we'll be in touch.
So check out Dormie.com, right? Their website, DormieWorkshop.com. If you guys want to see more Dormie, follow them on Instagram, you guys. Like, you'll see everything they're doing, and it's cool. So cool, man. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.